thoughtful, sensitive, romantic. These are all semi-flattering ways of saying that someone is moody. And I am one of those someones. I have been for as long as I can remember. And maybe that's why I have a basic attraction to a style of music that has become, I think, more and more popular on like YouTube and SoundCloud. And that is the slowed plus reverb phenomenon. Kiss me hard before you go. But with one strange exception.
There once was a baby goat whose growing horns made him think he was grown.
I've never tried to make anything that actually had that sound until yesterday when I decided to sit down and try to make a slowed plus reverb version of my recent song, Easy to Break. Now, most people probably create a slowed plus reverb mix in a DAW. I try not to use those as much as I can, so I instead decided to use some like outboard gear that I own. I created the final mix onto cassette, using a Tascam 424 Mark II. So I decided to use it sort of as like the baseline for creating this new slow plus reverb mix, because the Tascam 424 has like a pitch wheel that, decreases the speed and as a result, the pitch of what's being played back from the tape. That addressed the slowed part of the equation, but what about the reverb part? Well, I recently acquired an Alesis Quadraverb. I picked a reverb setting that I liked, removed all the dry signal, and then mixed the reverb in with my original, dry track. With the slowed sound and the reverb sound in my headphones, I sort of made some EQ adjustments to make them together sound as good as possible. This sounds so amazing. And then started printing versions of that into my audio interface and into Audacity. But before I talk about those versions of the song, let me start by giving you a sample of what that song sounds like in its original form. Don't be easy to break. And now let's listen to some of these slowed plus reverb versions. The first example I'm going to show you is the slowest, and it's also the deepest in pitch, because that's how the pitch wheel works on a 424. As you slow down the sound, it also lowers the pitch. If you speed up the sound, it increases the pitch. I don't actually know where the pitch of the song is relative to the original. I don't know exactly where the speed is relative to the original, but it is a lot slower and a lot deeper. Here's what it sounds like.
Don't be easy to break.
It's really wild to hear my voice pitched in this way. I know it's me, but it sounds like a totally different person, and that's kind of nice. I remember hearing stories that John Lennon loved to apply effects to his vocals because he was self-conscious about his vocals, which is insane. But he might have also just enjoyed the wild feeling of hearing a slightly different person performing the song. Now, it has a much softer sound, and part of that is because of a little bit of EQ that I was able to apply using the simple controls in the 424, but part of it is just because of the way that it's been pitched down. But this is kind of extreme even for me. Let me show you the second slowed plus reverb sound that I created.
Don't be easy to break.
It still has this molassesy feel, but it's much faster in tempo. I almost wonder if I had released this originally, if people would have even thought that it sounded like I was trying to do a slow plus reverb thing, or if they kind of thought that I just listened to a bunch of vaporwave or something. I like that sound a lot, but I did one more version looking for sort of a Goldilocks, in between speed and pitch, and this is what I ended up with.
Don't be easy to break. Easy to break. Easy to break. Easy to break.
My plan is to choose one of these versions to officially release as my slowed and reverb mix. It's going to be hard for me to choose. I'm tending right now toward the Goldilocks version, but after listening to each of those mixes about a bajillion times in the making of this video, I decided that I like all of them, and I'm going to release all of them. Why? Because I can. Nobody's keeping score here. So they're all going to be coming out on this coming Friday, which I guess is September 1st? Yeah, September 1st. They'll be everywhere. In any event, this entire process was really, really fun, but I also learned a lot from it. The first thing I learned is that reverb is wonderful when used correctly. The Quadraverb has not only a bunch of sounds that I really like, but of course it has like the ability to mix out dry signal. That's something that was lacking in the reverb that I used for a little bit of coloration in the original version. Let's just say I regret that I didn't have something with a dry cut at that time, because it just makes the reverb so much easier to use in the context of a larger mix. But it's not effortless. And that's the second thing that I learned. It's that reverb, in a way, is just another instrument or sound that you're including in a mix, and it can be beneficial to apply things like EQ to that sound to make it fit just right with everything else that is already in the mix. My EQ adjustments to the reverb were not that dramatic.
I mean, this is what I was doing.
But they really did, I think, contribute to, they helped it give me the overall vibe that I was looking for. And that's the third thing that I want to mention, is that this process has given me a new appreciation for the vibe of a song. Maybe I'm going to reveal my naivete, but I always think first about my music as songs that exist in the form in which I write them, and I may translate those songs into a more diverse and interesting arrangement, change like the intensity or dynamics that I use to perform those songs, but fundamentally they often just like feel like the same songs that I wrote originally. But this has really introduced to me the idea that a song could be enhanced by doing simple things like slowing it down, lowering the pitch. Those sorts of things can give it a very different flavor. And some of that you could do in the way that you perform the song, but some things you really can't do except using technology like, even technology that I was using on the 424, but obviously technology that you have access to in a DAW. That's something that I want to think about in future recordings, because the fact is I'm not making them with the idea that they're a representation of what I could perform for a person. I'm just one guy with a guitar most of the time. I mean for them to be something that is the idealized version of a song, even if I have to resort to technological magic to reach that version, whether you're using a DAW or something like the 424 that I have. Experiment with doing these slowed plus reverb mixes. They are, if nothing else, really, really fun. I hope this video was fun. Thank you so much for your time watching. I hope you're doing well. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.